the best that you can have. I also support the trainer team and the venue. So I'm kind of like the hub between all those people. And if you have any questions logistically about the IIT, about the space, I would be the person to contact.
Great. Thanks, Jennifer. We'll hear more from you later, but I appreciate you introducing yourself. And I love you describing yourself as a hub. I take incredible comfort knowing we have a hub. And having worked with you before, I'm just like thrilled. I'm elated. So we'll hear from Jennifer a little bit more later. So just for clarity, everyone is on mute right now except for me. And what I do is plan to talk for about 10 to 12 minutes doing various things, and then I will engage you and I'll ask you to speak, some of you who want to. But I find that having the lines muted really improves the sound quality. If we try to have everybody's line open, it's kind of like chaos. There's a dog barking in one line and then the door slamming in the other line. So just for ease right now, everyone is on mute. Okay? So with that out of the way, I just want to describe briefly what this meeting's about and share with you the purpose we have for the event. And then I'm going to lead you through a guided process, kind of like a meditation, a 5-minute meditation, which will serve as the impetus or a catalyst to hear from some of you. Okay? So the purpose of this meeting is several things. One is to help you get grounded. So some of you have never been to one of these programs before. In fact, I think the majority of people have not been to one of these 9-day retreats. So this is to help you get grounded and oriented, get your sea legs, get a sense of what you're getting yourself into so that when you arrive, you can be more relaxed, more settled, and prepare yourself, frankly, so you can get more out of the gathering. Another goal of this meeting right now is to give you a small taste of what this work is about, an entryway. Another one is to answer any questions you have. So at the end of the meeting, I will certainly stay on. I think Jennifer will as well. Any questions that don't get answered through the course of the main meeting, we'll stay after and answer any of them that you have. And then the last goal is to start building community. My experience of this work, and frankly learning anything for that matter, not just nonviolent communication, is incredibly more effective when there's a container. And what I mean by container is we have a sense of shared purpose amongst each other. We have a sense of knowing each other, or at least knowing some of the people, having a sense of belonging, and just feeling more settled about where we are. So this is about starting to build that community even before we arrive in person. I just want to say how thrilled I am. I've never seen this many people on a Zoom call. I've got 20 people on the video and at least 15 or 18 on audio. So it's like we have a large majority of the participants are here today. I'm just thrilled about that. I'm kind of amazed. So I'm confident that we can reach that last goal about building community. Okay. Purpose. I wanted to share with you briefly the purpose that we have. And get that muted. Okay. The purpose that we have as trainers and leaders. I want to just briefly name that so you can start to feel into that. So we have 3 main goals for the IIT, the International Intensive Training. The first of the 3 is to help liberate ourselves, to find liberation, to be liberated or free in our internal world, in our relationships, which is interpersonal, and in our communities. So you'll learn more about what we mean by liberation. It's kind of a code word. For me, what it means is to be free and to have choice, conscious choice in our lives, in our relationships, within ourselves. I can speak for myself and say that for most of my adult life, I was not in conscious choice because I was being run by programs and conditioning that I had received. And it made things a lot harder. It was a big strain. So that's one goal, is to help you free yourself from any conditioning you have. The second objective is to share with you the main tools and mindsets of nonviolent communication, naturally. I think you probably know that. That's probably part of why you're coming. As developed by Marshall Rosenberg, who was the originator of this work, and will be sharing his original teachings. So you can be sure that you will get everything that Marshall created. And in addition to that, all the trainers have kind of their own unique slant or their own unique applications, which you'll get that as well. For example, I work quite often with Francois Bousselet, and he does a lot of work in organization, so he'll bring some of that, just as an example. So the third objective we have, the third and final objective we have, is to build a supportive community of like-minded people that goes on after the program is over. So yes, we do want to have a great experience together. And often what happens is there's a peak experience. People usually, most people have a really good experience. Hope that's the case for you. And they leave on a high. And unfortunately, it tends to wear off over time, unless you have people you stay in touch with, unless you have friends and mutual support people. So our goal is that you go home from this program with at least a few people who you have some ongoing contact with, either formally or informally, and that we set you up, if you're so inclined, to do future learning opportunities. Because frankly, what we're offering here is not the norm. It's not the usual way that people go about living and communicating. So we really want to solidify that and do everything we can to make sure you succeed going forward. Not that only that you succeed in the 9 days, but to set you up in the future to succeed. So those are our goals. So I think what I'd like to do now is lead you through a guided process where you take from it what you do, but I'll speak for about 5 minutes. And what I encourage you to do is to set down any pots and pans, any calculators, any smartphones, pens, computers, tablets, remote controls, anything like that. Just for these next 5 minutes, if you can, just set it aside. And if you're standing, try to stand with both feet equal weight. If you're sitting, I encourage you to put both feet flat on the floor. Okay, have your hands free. And you can do this with eyes open or eyes closed, but I'm just going to invite you to ponder how you got here. Okay? And after that, I'll give some instructions about how you can share, and we'll meet a few people, and etc. Okay? So, what I'd like you to do now in your kind of relaxed alertness is to think back to the very first moment you learned about the existence of this program. So go back in time and just remember, this thing in Minnesota, what is this? And I'd like you to try to remember what your reaction was when you heard about it. What went on for you? In your mind, what thoughts did you have? What visceral reaction did you have? Did you have any, like, in your body, like an impulse or some type of feeling? So just go back to that moment and just tune in. Just try to remember that and bring that forward as much as possible to right here and now. You might also recall any resistance you had, or skepticism, or maybe optimism, maybe hope, maybe anger, whatever it was. Just tune in with that. And I'd like you, from that very first moment you learned about the existence of this program, to gradually, slowly walk yourself forward in time to the present moment. Slowly, though. So maybe you learned about this a week ago or 6 months ago, doesn't matter. Each time you thought about this program, what hopes came up? What are you longing for that brings you to this call? That brings you to want to make this commitment of 9 days and time and money? What are you longing for in your life? What are you yearning for? And as you review the time, kind of slowly walking yourself to this moment, along the way, did you have any doubts? Or do you have any doubts now? Do you have any fears? Any pessimism? Any cynicism? Welcome that. Did you have any excitement? Did you have any hope? Did you have any joy? Did you speak with anybody else about this event? And did they receive you with the most heartfelt, warm encouragement and empathy? Or did they receive you with skepticism and judgment? So we'll take about 1 more minute in this guided process. So slowly bring yourself toward the present moment. When you learned about this call about a few days ago, we sent an email and invited you, and you obviously got it and came here. What happened for you when you heard about this call, this meeting? And as you anticipated this meeting? And as you said to yourself, oh, it's getting to be time, I better get on my phone or computer. 5, 10, 15 minutes ago. Right up to the moment you got on this call and started hearing my voice. What's the life in you right now? Just take a moment and just do a scan of your mind, your heart, your body. Just kind of scan your sense of self, about everything that's present for you about this experience. And then bring yourself into this present moment, 7:44 Eastern Time, 6:44 Central Time. And if your eyes are closed, gradually bring yourself to opening them. And I would like to hear from a few of you. This is a way of me getting feedback and information from you. It's a way of us building community and getting a sense of our group intention here. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand if you're willing to speak. I'd like you to share 3 things. And I will tell you how to raise your hand, by the way. But first of all, let me tell you what I'd like to hear. I'd like to hear your name, even if I say it. Even if I say, Joe, please speak. Please say, I'm Joe. Say where you live. I live in Annapolis, Maryland, for example. And then give us about 30 seconds about what's present for you about this experience. What are you longing for? What are you yearning for when it comes to this whole program? Okay? So if you want to raise your hand and speak, I'd like to hear from 5 to 7 people. If you are on the telephone, okay, the way that you raise your hand is to press *9. And I actually have on my screen, I'll see if you're raising your hand. If you're on the video, you can actually just wave at me. I can see you. That's actually my favorite way. Just wave at me. I like to see your face. Oh, I see people. Oh, so it's a waving. Okay. All right. So once again, your name, where you live, and 30 seconds or so about what's inspiring you. Connie, did I see you wave your hand at me?
Did.
All right.
I'm Connie. I live in Arlington, Texas, and no, I'm not being flooded. I'm away from the coast. And I'm
And Connie, speak as loud as you can. I think your voice is just a little bit soft. Okay.
Oh, okay. I have practiced NVC for about 5 years, and I have friends who have gone to the 9-day meetings and have their practice. And so I have hope for that for myself. I also facilitate a class in the Tarrant County Jail, and that's some pretty tough kind of practice. So I'm wanting to up my game so that I can contribute more to the inmates in the jail in our class.
Okay. So I regret, I muted you for about 10 seconds, Connie, but I regret that. But I think I picked up that you're inspired to be part of this, both for yourself, but also how you can contribute in the world. You could bring this to inmates, to the jail, to people who could really benefit from it. So you're hoping to pick up some things that you can use there. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Deepen my practice, yeah.
Okay. Great. Thanks very much, Connie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See some other hands. Anyone else? Wave your hand at me. Okay. Let's go next to Anne. You're on, Anne.
Hi, I'm Anne. I'm in Minnesota. This is my first conference call. A little terrifying. I am a pretty heavy-duty Buddhist. I do a lot of mindfulness, a lot of Tai Chi, and so this kind of fits into the right speech. I really have high hopes, which are going to be dashed, I'm sure, but I've had some significant experience in the last few months of being really facile with this. I've been doing it for about 2 years, not in difficult relationships like with my son, but in the world. And my hope is that I'll actually come, and because you guys are all not huge triggers and you're all somewhat skilled, that I'll just have a 9-day experience of being realized at doing this work. Okay. Anyway, that's my false goal.
Wow. Okay. I'm really stimulated by everything you just shared. Let me try to capture it in summary form. So it sounds to me like you have a lot of hope and passion and enthusiasm, but you're trying to kind of moderate or kind of calibrate yourself so that you don't go in with such high hopes that you're disappointed. Is that part of it?
Maybe, but I don't mind being disappointed.
Got it. You're not so concerned about that.
No, I don't mind failing.
Oh, good. Oh, I'm relieved to hear that because I'm also relieved to hear that I'm not yet a trigger for you. That may change. You never know. It has been known to happen, but I'm appreciating your sharing, Anne. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. So if you haven't noticed yet, one of the things that I'm trying to do after each person speaks is capture what they've shared, which is a form of empathy or reflective listening. And Jennifer, I'm wondering, would you be willing to capture the next person who speaks, whoever that might be?
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's go to Jean. You're up, Jean.
Hi, I'm Jean. I live in St. Paul. It was Anne who sent me an email about this, and so my MO is to like, oh yeah, I want to do that, and to jump in and then have all sorts of ambivalent feelings about it afterwards. So Marshall Rosenberg came to the Twin Cities 10 years ago, I don't know, a while ago, and I did a weekend workshop with him, and I loved it, and I've kind of dabbled in his stuff in the work that I do in a kind of a superficial way. And so I've got a lot of voices in my head that are going back and forth between yes, you need to do this, and no, why do another thing? You're getting old, and why don't you just focus on what you know, etc. So I'm just listening to those voices. My hope is that I would learn to be less violent with myself so that I can be less violent in the world. That's kind of an ongoing challenge, but I'm hopeful, I guess, with a little bit of skepticism and ambivalence.
Jean, it sounds like you're holding both pieces. That what could happen and why go. Just really wanting to get to a point where you're holding yourself with care so you can hold others with that same care. Am I getting that?
Yep. Well said.
Okay. And Jean, would you remind us where you're from? If you said it, I forgot.
St. Paul, Minnesota.
St. Paul, you're Twin Cities. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Great. All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks, Jean. Okay. Anyone else care to speak now? Okay. Let's do, how about Lori? Lori, why don't you go next?
Sure. Thank you. My name is Lori, and I live in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. It's a little town just outside of Toronto. And I think for me, the longing when I first heard about or looked up online about this intensive was I've been doing this for about 10 years with a wonderful trainer named Henry Way. And in and out of kind of going to his workshops and implementing this in my own life, listening to my children differently, to myself differently, using the cards and things like that. I work with people who are dying. It's the majority of my work. And I'm often holding a very strong container with empathy for those people. And I'm just really longing to be held that way by people as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm really moved by that. And it's, if I'm hearing you, it's like you give a lot. Actually, you hold space for a lot of people. And you are really looking forward to being held in that same quality of care and compassion. So I'm guessing you can just relax and kind of just receive and replenish your energy. Is that right?
Yes. Thank you.
Excellent. And I feel happy. A smile came to me hearing about Henry Y, a trainer in Toronto, because he organized a training in 2006. This is 11 years ago now, with the NVC dance floors, which is a technology that he learned from a trainer in England. That's one of the things that I will share that I really, really like. It's, anyways, I have a lot of affection for Henry and happy to hear that connection from you. Thanks, Lori. Okay, let's hear from a few others. Just raise your hand. Okay, I see Terry. Terry, why don't you go next? And Jennifer, you can respond.
Hi, Jennifer. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Terry.
Hey, Connie. My teamie and I are both on the call. Connie is my teamie. We go into the jail every Friday for 2 hours and facilitate NVC. So we're both really wanting to get good at specifics. For example, you know, when you interrupt someone to connect with them normally, they're not telling you they just got pistol whipped by a gun and then someone shot their dog. I mean, you know, and so I have a little more empathy because the stories we're hearing from some of these gals are a bit shocking. But we still, anyway, so that's something I want to get good at, interrupting for connection. I first became acquainted with the IIT when Jay Kendall came back from the IIT with Marshall, and he was just saying, are you willing to do this? And all these weird things that I hadn't heard him say before. And I said, what is the deal with this 9-day? What was it all about? And he just stopped for a minute and thought for a minute, and he just said, well, it's just more pleasant in here, referring to his brain. That's when I knew I could use some of that. I'm in the Dallas area, and I'm also looking to be able to, in the practice group I facilitate, I have some pro-Trump, some anti-Trump, and that is a challenge to be able to facilitate that, even in my own brain. I just would like, that's a big goal that I have as well. I mean, I don't expect it to be able to do that in 9 days, but I want to be on, at some point, I want to be able to break this divide where we're just talking at each other, trying to get the other one to snap out of it and see that we're right.
Terry, it sounds like in the jail and in your practice group that you're looking to really grow your skill and your competence in NVC, partly so you can be present to what happens in you when there's stimulating conversation or things that you hear in your practice group or in the prison, but also so you have some skilled, easily accessible responses. So maybe to integrate NVC a little bit more and to dive a little deeper than you have in the past so that you have a greater capacity to be present to those people you're supporting there. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that. And to have more community of people that are in this crazy world of NVC.
Yeah,
Hey,
so to build some more connection.
You, buddy.
You're not supposed to stimulate anyone till we get there.
Takes one to know one.
Oh, no. I can tell a crazy man when I see one.
Yeah, right. You're very perceptive. And by the way, I can't imagine why you have any trouble dealing with Trump supporters and people who oppose him. I mean, as far as I can tell, Trump is having a very calming effect on our country. It seems like it would be really easy for you.
Yeah. I love sarcasm. See, I knew I was going to like you. Right?
Good. All right.
Oh,
We're off to a good
great.
start.
I can't wait.
All right. Well, thank you, Terry. Appreciate you sharing. And jokes aside, I am excited to have you there and excited about the work you're doing. So thank you for sharing. Okay, let's take a couple more. All right, I see Fred. Let's go next for you, Fred, and I'll respond, Jennifer.
Hi, Jeff. How are you? Jeff and I have had the opportunity to do a 10-day together, a year 10-day, in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And since then, I was originally, my name is Fred, and I'm from Jackson, Michigan. And I had worked in the Michigan Department of Corrections. In 2006, I came across Marshall's home CD course and tried to start as much as I could with the limited knowledge that I had that I could pick up from the CDs and everything. And then I saw Jeff and Francois and they were having and Lisa, they were having a 10-day program in Ann Arbor, so I started there. And I'm really looking forward, again, to working with them and meeting everybody and immersing myself in a 9-day, which is a fantastic experience. And I'm just kind of open to just kind of flow with it. I've attended some workshops in Gabriola, Canada, in Vancouver, and had the opportunity to work with our friendly neighbors and discuss, as we were mentioning, Trump and et cetera, and what's taking place. And so it's been a real growing experience for me, and I'm just looking forward to being there and excited to meet everybody and just share what we can. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Fred. So I'm hearing for you, it's about deepening your learning, just continuing this process that, of course, I know this from having known you from the other program, but something that it sounds like has really touched you. And something that really strengthens your ability to show up in the world in the way that you want. And you're just eager for more. You just want to bring in as much as you can, and this program is part of that. Is that right?
Yeah, Jeff, that's true. One of the things that I've done some workshops in our community as well, and I understand that some people were working in prisons, and I had the opportunity to work with the Michigan Department of Corrections once I retired and held a workshop for parolees. The only problem was they didn't have a choice of attending, and we had to work through that for a period of time before they were actually really into the program, but we had to deal with no choice. So yeah, but yes, it gives me a chance to show up in the community.
Oh, yes. There's so much to that choice, no choice thing, that when people are compelled to learn something like nonviolent communication, that adds a whole new dynamic that's very different from this, where people are obviously coming on their own choice, their own volition. And then the other thing I'm pretty sure I heard you say, Fred, is you think that I'm the best NVC trainer in the world, and you can't wait to spend more time with me. You did say that.
That's true.
Right?
I cannot wait to spend more time with you, Jeff. That's great. I'm just going to pick your brain while I'm there. I just want to learn everything I can from you.
All right. Jokes aside, thank you, Fred.
Yes, thank you.
Be good to see you again.
Yes.
All right. Let's take one more sharing for right now, and Jennifer, you can respond to this person. Let's hear from one more person right now. I see a hand. Okay, that would be Deborah. Deborah, you're up.
And can you hear me?
Sure can.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Hi, Ann. And I know another person in the group. I have been, my name is Deborah, and I live in St. Paul, Minnesota, or Roseville more specifically. I'm so glad to be able to meet some Canadian neighbors. I spent a great deal of time in Canada in the years 1993 and 94, so I'll be wanting to hear more from you about what's happening there. I have been teaching for 35 years an introduction to interpersonal communication at a state university in Minnesota. And I have been using for the last 6 years nonviolent communication as an auxiliary text to the textbook that we use that's more theoretical. And I used NVC for skill building. I had not taken any training up until this time, although I've waited and waited and waited for someone to come to Minnesota, checking the website every now and then. And if I didn't get something in the last 6 years that was here and I missed it, I'd feel really badly. But I finally am glad to be participating and really looking forward to embodying compassion and connection, letting go completely of dominance, especially in the classroom, especially in my primary relationships. I'm just so ready for this.
Sweet. It sounds like you're ready for a paradigm shift in the way you live, wanting that change that power dynamic within you and to match what you're teaching with the students as you bring NVC into your class. And it sounds like you've been waiting for this for a while.
A long time.
Yeah. I'm glad you found us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Me too, Deborah. And as far as I know, you haven't missed any major things in Minnesota. So this time is right. Must be meant for you to be with us. So
that's right.
Glad you will be.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so there'll be more opportunities to speak as we go. I'd like to throw a couple more things at you as a way of starting to frame up what will be happening and how you can prepare yourself to get the most out of the event. So I just want to say a few words about the program, like what actually will be happening in these 9 days. And I think I'd like to break down the rest of the call into 2 or 3 parts. So I'd like to share a little bit about the program and then see if anyone has questions about that that would help them be more oriented or prepared. And then we'll do things about like logistics. And Jennifer can be a strong lead on that because she's not only organized events before, but she's going to be playing a role here with logistics. And then kind of open it up at the end for anything else that comes up. So first of all, let me say, before I get into marketing, is we do still have a few spaces available. About 40 people, 40, have signed up so far. So we have I'm just so excited. We have more than 20, 25 of you here right now, which is really cool. But we have room for 10 or 15 more. So if you have friends, family, colleagues who you might want to invite, just know that there are spaces available. We'd love to have them. We'd like to have a nice, full, robust training. So that's a possibility. And as far as the program goes, I just want to give you a very brief overview in 1 minute and then see if there's any questions. And maybe hear from you as well, Jennifer, because you might add something that I miss. Okay. So basically, we're together for 9 days. We arrive, have dinner the first day. We have a very brief opening session. And then we have 8 full days. So that would be Sunday through the following Sunday. And the 8 full days basically follow the same format. We have, during the morning and the late afternoon, we have an all community meeting. So everybody comes to the same place. Call it a plenary, if you will. And that helps us get oriented for the day to put us all in the right frame of mind. And at the end of the day, right before dinner, we come together and share what's happened for us that day. So it's like a community sharing, integration, cross-pollination session. In between those bookmarks, or bookends, I should say, those bookends of a community meeting, we have 2 breakout sessions of 2 hours each. So typically you'll have a choice of 3 or 4 sessions on different topics that we will describe that morning, led by the 4 trainers primarily. Occasionally, other people will lead a session, either there are participant-led offerings, Sometimes there are other certified trainers or candidates in the group, and they sometimes lead sessions. So there's a morning breakout of 2 hours. There's an afternoon breakout of 2 hours. And then finally, in addition to meals and breaks, of course, we have a 1 hour empathy home group time. And that's a time for integration, building and practicing empathy skills, and receiving one of the most valuable resources that I believe that we can receive, which is presence, attention, empathy. And that's a very, very helpful thing when we're taking in a lot of information. This is a 9-day event, and there's a lot to take in, so we need to build in a daily opportunity for integrating our learning. And that happens during the empathy home group time, in part. Lastly, we have an evening session, which runs after dinner, which is more on the optional side. I mean, technically everything is optional. We don't force you to go to anything. But in the evening, it's a little bit more informal. So in the evening, some of you may want to share something you've learned, either about NVC specifically. You might want to practice offering a session. You might want to offer something on another topic that you think people might enjoy, like yoga, or it doesn't have to be something like yoga, some new age thing. It could just be like, you know, whatever, anything you're interested in that you think people might enjoy. You can offer it. So please note, come prepared. Bring your guitar, bring your materials, bring books. You will have an opportunity to share that. So that's the basic format. The first day is a little different, and the last morning is a little different, because those are the wrap up and the start. But the basic 8 days will follow that format. So Jennifer, is there anything you'd like to add that you think might be helpful for people to know before I ask for any questions?
You know, I can't think of anything right now except for the possibility that somebody might make an early morning offering. Occasionally there'll be somebody offering some yoga or meditation before breakfast in the morning. So if you have yoga mats, bring them along.
Excellent. Thank you. And also like walks, just nature walks, things like that often happen in the morning. Swimming, maybe a little chilly. Yeah, things like that. Okay. So I'd like to pause there and see what questions you have. What are you curious about in relationship to the program? And remember, we're differentiating logistics from the program. So in a moment, we'll shift to logistics, and you can ask about times and travel and all that. But just in terms of the program itself, is there anything you're wondering about? And if so, raise your hand either visually or by pressing *9. Okay? All right, and the first person I see is Bia. Bia, you've got the mic.
Hi, Jeff and everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, but barely. Can you get a little bit closer to the microphone? I think that might help.
Okay, how is this?
That's better.
Can you hear me better?
That's better, yeah.
Okay. So, Jeff, could you speak to the breakup sessions? What those topics include or may entail?
Yes, yes. They will include the entire core curriculum as laid out by Marshall Rosenberg. So we kind of build one skill upon the next. So the first 3 days, they will be the core skills of nonviolent communication, which involve self-connection, like managing our own internal world and increasing compassion within ourselves. That's 1. 2 would be deep listening and presence to other people, otherwise known as empathy, or empathic listening, empathic presence. Number 3 would be how we express ourselves in the world, how we speak, how we express ourselves honestly and authentically, in a way that hopefully inspires and opens others, as opposed to causing them to be defensive or reactive, which is so often the way that happens in the world. So the first 3 days, those 3 main skills: self-connection, empathy, honesty. After that, we'll start building on more nuanced topics, such as parenting, such as social change, such as dealing with conflict. So we'll have sessions on mediation, for instance, and actually offer live mediations, hopefully with conflicts that come up between all of you. I mean, we actually mediate conflicts that exist in the community, as well as teaching you the skills to take back home. And then there will be a random assortment of offerings that we don't know yet, because we're coming prepared to respond to what is interesting to you and everybody else. So we have a bunch of things in our toolbox that we're not certain about. We know the core, we know the foundation, but as we go through, we get feedback, and we kind of refine the program as we go along. Is this helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay, you're welcome. Okay, see a question from Kathy. Go ahead, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy Burns here from St. Pete, Florida. And just want to express gratitude for the YouTube video of you. It was very helpful to me, and I presented modeling on that, and it was awesome. So thank you.
All right.
I just want to ask the question around coming prepared with a topic. The other work that I do, can I bring PowerPoints? Like, is that something that I could do to present on the work that I do?
Absolutely. We will have the video set up as an option, yep.
Okay. And then I think my other questions regard logistics, like how many hours are we going to have open to sleep?
Oh, there's no sleeping here. We're going hardcore. Let me answer that.
Well, I've been to other intense kinds of things, and sometimes they pack it so full that you get like, there's 8 hours allotted for sleep, which is like 6 because,
yes.
you know.
I mean, I answered with a joke, but I've been to those too, intensive, where they actually intentionally deprive you of sleep because they believe that being in an altered state will produce different learning. And I honor that. That's not our goal here. That's not our goal here. Let me just answer it because I think it's related to the program. So we start at 9 a.m. every day, and we end at 6 p.m. And that's when dinner starts. So that's the main part of the day. And many people just do that, and then they rest in the evening. So you've got plenty of time. Some people want more, so they participate in the evening sessions. But even those end by like 9:15 or 9:30. So you can count on a good 12-hour window of self-care, sleep, rest, doing whatever you need to do. So it's really built in. We want people to integrate their experience as opposed to running themselves ragged. That tends to produce what we're going after. So,
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Kathy. Okay, I have someone on the telephone. Your phone number starts with 859-213. You're up.
I was unmuted, and that's when you were asking to share earlier. But now, I didn't. My authentic self would want to share, but my inauthentic self didn't want to share, and I don't have a concern anymore about anything. I'm pretty much listening right now.
Got it. So I missed your hand from earlier. Well, since we're hearing you, do you mind just sharing your name and where you're from?
Okay, my name is Miguel, and I'm actually from Chicago.
Great. Okay.
Illinois. So, and what I'm really wanting to get is I'm in the spectrum of I'm autistic, and this will be my first NVC anything. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I wanted to really master incoming is really having a level of really connecting with another person in a way that I've never had.
Okay. So I hear you're eager, really, especially given this, that you describe yourself as being on the autism spectrum. I'm guessing that's made it challenging at times throughout your life to really connect with people, and you're ready for this. You're longing for skills that will help you do this and really feel bonded with other people. Did I get you?
Correct. Yep.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
I'm feeling moved, Miguel, by what I experience as vulnerability of you coming to this event, never having been to one before, and also your goal. I would say I still have the same goal after 17 years of practice, and it's a vulnerable goal for me, to want to reveal myself and open myself up. So I'm just really appreciating you sharing that and being part of this.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing your vulnerability as well.
Great, you're welcome. Okay, thanks for sharing. Okay, any other questions right now? Okay, P. Huggins, you're up.
Hi, my name is Paul, and I am in Chaska, which is near the Twin Cities, near Minneapolis. My question was, do you assign empathy groups beforehand? And if you do, would you be willing to maybe make a group with local people? Because I'm hoping to get together a practice group, or I'm hoping that we can get one together. And I just think that if we had an empathy group during the intensive, that it would be kind of give us a head start.
Oh, I totally see that, right? Because you already kind of form community amongst yourselves in the group, which can help you as you move forward.
Right, right.
Totally makes sense. Short answer is yes, we can make that happen. Because that's a great way, I think. I love your strategy, actually. And let me just describe a little bit more about these empathy home groups. There's actually two different versions of it, which we will alternate back and forth from. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The first part of it is we will establish empathy home groups, and I'll tell you how we establish them in a moment, but let me just tell you what they are. I believe days 1, 2, and 3, and 5 and 7, so about 5 days out of the 8, we will invite you to be in the same group with the same people, about 4 to 5 people in a group. And we find that having the same people actually helps with continuity and consistency. You get to know each other. You can kind of balance out in the group, making sure everybody gets ample time with the focus on them. Frankly, sometimes dynamics and issues arise in a group, and you have the opportunity to address them and attend to them with support of a trainer as needed. But there's value in having the same group for a while. Okay. At the same time, we also see value at random variety. Okay, so on days 4, 6, and 8, we will randomly assign you to a random group where you won't know who you're going to be with, but you'll be with a different people than you are in your standard group. And hopefully, if we can work out the mechanics of it, you'll be in a different random group each of the 3 days on days 4, 6, and 8. And the benefit to that is variety and diversity. So different people have obviously different personalities. We can learn from different people. So we want to expose you to as many different people as possible. So coming back to your question, Paul, we can look at establishing groups for the days 1, 2, 3, 5, and 7. So it won't be every day, but hopefully it would be enough days for you to get this traction that you're looking for.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As well as getting the variety that we think will also serve you. So hopefully that balance will work for you and others. And let me just say one other thing is the plan we have for the random groups are going to be random. Okay, we're just going to say, hey, here's your group today, surprise. We have a method for developing these other groups based upon things like geography, interest area, language group. It may not be as much of an issue in this IIT, but in many IITs, there's people from all over the world, and English is often their second or third language. So we may have a French-speaking group. It may just be easier for people to have a French-speaking group, things like that. So yes, it can happen. We'll tell you more about how to make it happen once we're all together. So
okay, thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Okay. All right, any other questions about the program before we move to logistics? Let's take one more. I see Lane.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'd just like to identify my authentic name for my authentic self. Lane's the family name. So my first name is 2 words, Mary Martin.
Mary Martin.
Is my mother's name. So I'm a little sensitive about appreciating when people can say Mary Martin.
Great. And Mary Martin, would you mind moving your voice as close to the microphone as possible? I can hear you pretty well, but could be a little bit louder.
I have water in my ear from lap swim, so I'm trying to hear all of you too.
Okay.
I'm from Waterloo, Iowa, so that represents another state of the great Midwest. Thank you.
Okay. So you were just wanting to be known and heard, no questions, just wanted to have your voice in the mix?
Well, this is all very intriguing because I only heard about NVC 2 days before the retreat at Prairie Woods in Cedar Rapids, and I knew I had to be there, but I didn't know why and where was I going to get the money. It is a little pricey, but it worked. I knew that I could trust. And so I went, and this is so hopeful, F-U-L-L, and such an uplift, and particularly with the tragedy of our political climate right now. It's a real ray of hope. But it's that internal, and it's everything that heals and redeems the early childhood experiences of spiritual values. So this is very, very exciting. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. It sounds like what you know about this work that you've experienced so far really honors. It's a way to honor and deepen these values that are so precious to you already, that you've picked up throughout your life. Great. And just out of curiosity, you said you attended a training in Cedar Rapids. Is that recently you did that?
February, the first weekend of February. Oh gosh, the senior moments. Mary and her lively companion, tall and blonde.
Is this
I
Mary?
believe.
Mary McKenzie and Kathleen McFerrin?
Bingo. Yes.
Great.
And from that, I formed a couple of new friendships, which has led on to other activities. So it's like dropping a pebble in the pond and watching the ripples come up from your core to the shore.
I'm so appreciating that image that you've offered. That's really sweet. And I'm really looking forward to meeting you. So I'm glad you're joining us, Mary Martin.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, let's shift our attention a little bit towards logistics, because getting you there and making sure you're settled is important. So Jennifer, why don't you unmute yourself, and as a way of segueing into this section of questions about anything else, is there anything that you'd like to share with the group or ask me to share that you think might be meaningful or relevant before we take any questions?
You know, I can't think of anything offhand. I think it would support me to kind of know where folks are and what kind of questions they have, to know where to begin. Because logistics is just about everything on the ground. It's pretty wide.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we just invite people to share? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Anne.
keep your mic open, Jennifer. Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Anne, you're up.
I guess the question is, what time do we start the first day? And for those St. Paul people, where I am, Deb and Jean and anybody in the Twin Cities area, if you want to connect about carpooling, we need to do that. I prefer to carpool. So Deborah, I don't have your email. I have Jean's email.
So I have a suggestion of a way to handle that. We have a ride-sharing form that Jeff created for us, and it fills information out for me in a spreadsheet, and then I can email you. I'd email the group of people who might be traveling from a specific region who are wanting to travel with others, so that you all have each other's contact information and you can make plans from that point to travel together. And that would include people traveling from, say, St. Paul or Minneapolis, or from the Chicago area, folks who are coming up from the south who will be driving through certain cities. It also applies to folks who are flying into the Twin Cities. If we have your flight information, know when you're coming in, and then we know if there's someone else driving through there who has room in their car, I can connect you as well there. I think it's the best strategy for reaching everybody in the training who's interested in some way in sharing a ride. So I invite you guys to go ahead and participate in that. And if you don't have the email that was sent out earlier in the week, tonight I'm going to send out a document to all of you that's our pre-arrival welcome letter. And it will contain many, many details, including a copy of that email. So you'll have a link in there. You can fill it out again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Jennifer. And then also about the actual start time, Anne, is the first day, which is Saturday, September 30th. We're asking people to arrive between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. local time. The first official happening is dinner at 6, and then we'll have about a 1-hour session in the evening just to get grounded and settled. And I'd also like to point out that for our Jewish friends, this is actually overlapping with Yom Kippur, which technically I believe ends on the end of the day, Saturday. So we very intentionally moved this program one day later than the retreat center proposed to us, or that we originally were thinking, as a way to accommodate our Jewish friends who might be observing Yom Kippur. So a few people might be joining us starting Sunday morning, but we'd really like to have as many people arrive between 3 and 5 p.m. on Saturday. So does that help, Ann?
Yeah, I feel like a bad Jew. Just kidding.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty much a running bad joke, so you and I can be companions.
No, I said bad Jew.
Oh, bad Jew. I thought you said a bad joke. Okay. Oh, I see. So you're not celebrating Yom Kippur.
Correct. I'm a Jew boo.
Okay. Well, maybe we can reform you throughout the retreat, and then from then on you can celebrate it.
Try. Just try.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Ann. All right. Anyone else? Raise your hand. Okay. I see. Kathy, you have a question. Go ahead.
Hi. Just about the ending. I booked my flight like 6 months ago, and they've changed my times. The last day, what's happening in the last couple of hours? If I had to leave early to catch a flight, what would I be missing?
Jennifer, you want to answer that, or you prefer I do?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. And then fill in if there's something that you deem that I've forgotten. So the last day, we spend our morning really working towards that transition from the IIT into your daily life again. So it's a chance for us to connect with what happened over the week, what your experience was those 9 days, and to really have a chance to say goodbye, to have some offerings from the trainers about what that transition is like, making plans moving forward. And then what happens is the last session will end at noon, and then there's a lunch meal held together, and we leave at 1. Some people do choose to skip that meal sometimes if their flight is earlier. Jeff, did you want to add anything to that?
That's mostly it. It's a time of integrating what we've learned and capturing that so we can take it home most effectively as possible. Having gratitude, celebration. It's kind of a closing ceremony. So typically in an IIT like this, a handful of people do leave early, Kathy, for whatever reason. Need to get home, catch a flight. So hopefully, do you have a sense of when you might need to leave? What time?
I don't even know how to get to the airport either, but I'm thinking like 10.
Okay.
But I might try to change my flight because they changed both my the time that I'm leaving here and the time I'm leaving there. And so they've completely changed my ticket on me. So I don't know what my recourse is, but I was going to look into it.
Well, without the details, we often we find a way to integrate people in the saying goodbye before they have to leave. So if you're there until 10, we'll find a way to include you, and we'll do the best we can, and we'll make it work.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep. And on that note, we will also be having a process at the retreat to help people carpool to the airport or back to the Twin Cities or back wherever you're going. So what Jennifer mentioned, we're helping to coordinate rides to the gathering, to the program, but we're not doing any of the coordinating afterwards until we arrive there. But we will have a sheet up, and we'll be supporting people at finding rides to the airport, sharing a shuttle. So there might be other people who need to leave early, Kathy, and you can share a ride with them or get a ride, whatever. We'll support that as well.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. I just want to check with Miguel. Did you raise your hand again, or is that still from before?
That's from before. I didn't raise my hand.
Got it. All right. So let me lower your hand here. Okay. Very good. Okay. Anybody else? All right, I see Mary Martin. Go ahead.
You mentioned swimming. What kind of facility is that? Is it a river or is it a pool or a beach?
It is. Yeah, it's a crystal clear lake from what I have heard. Now, I have not been swimming in a Minnesota lake in October, so we might want to ask some of the locals what that is like. But from what I understand is there's a small beach there, and on the beach is also a sauna. And so if you don't care to dip in the cool lake, you might choose to bring a suit to get in the sauna. There are extensive trails to hike there as well, and there's an outdoor labyrinth.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Just wave your hand or press *9. Okay, I see. Jean, your hand is up. Go ahead.
So this is just kind of a personal thing, but I have to leave to teach a class on Wednesday night. Is that okay? And then I would come back the next morning?
Yep.
Okay.
Totally fine with me. I might recommend anyone who leaves the retreat to go out and do something like that. I might suggest you ask for one other person to kind of be your touchstone as you leave and as you come back, because it can be slightly disorienting to leave an intense kind of intensive retreat like this and go back out into the real world and do your thing like you normally do it and then come back. So I would just recommend find a buddy or someone from your empathy home group or just whoever, just to touch base with before you go, and when you come back, it just kind of, it smooths the transition a little bit more and helps you come back in more easily.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right, any other questions? Anything else that would be helpful to know now that would help you prepare and feel settled? Feel clear about what you're getting yourselves into? Okay, Mary Martin, you've got it?
Yes, on a practical level, in case of medical emergency, there would be backup, right?
That's a good question. For medical emergency, one of the emails, one of the attachments in the email I'm going to send you this evening is going to have an emergency contact form that we're asking you to print, fill out, and bring with you to the IIT. So you can give it to us when you check in. That lets us know what to do for you if something happens. The nearest town to us is about 15-20 minutes away, and I will look into what the medical facilities are there so I can let you know, Mary Martin, if there's a hospital or urgent care nearby. I'll find that out tonight, and I'll include that in the letter that I send you.
And I'll communicate with you personally.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Thank you.
Great. And also in what Jennifer's sending is the main telephone number of the retreat center, which can be an emergency contact that you can give to people back home. Of course, most of people have mobile phones, but there is the main number that we can use for emergencies as well. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I see, yes, Bia. Go ahead, Bia.
Who should I talk to about changing my destination about meals? I think I previously I checked meat option.
And you'd like to change that?
Well, should I email somebody on the Center for Nonviolent Communication, or who should I direct that?
Jennifer, are you okay doing that?
Yeah. So tonight when I send you the email, you can just reply to that and let me know what you'd like to change your choice to, and I'll ensure that the kitchen is aware of that.
Okay, thank you.
And I've also, for those of you on video, I've put in the chat box Jennifer's email. I mean, you should get her email in the next 24 hours anyway, but I put it there just in case. Jennifer's a good point of contact for logistical questions. Okay, any other questions for right now? Okay, Deborah, go ahead.
Not a question, but a comment about food. The Koinonia Retreat Center doesn't do much with gluten-free and anyone else who has a sensitivity to gluten. So I'd encourage people to bring their own gluten-free products if you need them. And I'm going to ask that they make sure we know what's in each dish that they serve.
So it sounds like you've been to Koinonia. You've been to this retreat center, Deborah. You have a sense of how they operate.
A couple of times,
Great, okay. I will say that we have arranged with them. They will have gluten-free options. We made a very specific request of them.
Good.
They may well not have it in their general programming, but they will have it for us. And we're working very actively with them to try to make sure not only that they have that, but they have like a variety. It's not just like one loaf of bread that's gluten-free that we have to eat for 9 days. So hopefully there will be, I mean, I'm trusting, I'm confident, crossing my fingers, that we will be meeting people's needs who are vegetarian, dairy-free, and gluten-free. So that's my understanding.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's go to Kathy. Go ahead.
Thank you. So would we have access to a refrigerator if there was like special foods that we needed to bring for ourselves?
Yes.
And access to a small space in the kitchen if we needed to wash and chop vegetables and stuff?
That I'm not sure. Definitely there's a refrigerator for people to bring supplemental food or medications. I believe there are kitchens in a couple of the buildings. So actually, Kathy, why don't you send me or Jennifer an email, and this goes for anybody for that matter. If you think you want to prepare foods, like to have a sink or whatever, email us that, and we can try to see if we can assign you either to the building that has that kitchen or that's very close to it, so it's easily accessible. Okay. I have not made the arrangements with the retreat center, so I don't have an intricate knowledge, but I do know that at least a couple of the buildings have like a kitchenette thing. So would you take the initiative to email us a reminder about that?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay. And this actually is an opportunity to acknowledge Dave Casey. Many of you have had contact with Dave, who lives in the Twin Cities area, who is singularly responsible for this event happening. Dave attended a similar IIT that Jennifer organized about 1.5 years ago in Wisconsin. And Dave got really inspired and said, I want to do this, and invited me to be part of it. So Dave's the one that's made the arrangements with the retreat center. And he couldn't be here tonight because he's on a wilderness trip. That's one of the things that he does. He leads wilderness trips. But he will be at the event, and he and Jennifer will be co-holding a lot of the logistics on site. So we haven't, Dave hasn't gone away. He's just not here right now. Okay. So we've got a few more minutes before we end. Any last questions? We have time for maybe 1 or 2 more. You can either wave at me or press *9, and if not, I'll say a few words. I'll just leave a moment here. Okay, I think it's okay. Gotcha, Connie. Go ahead, Connie.
Hi. I have one question on programming. I'm wondering, what is the balance between practice and teaching in our meetings? Because some people really, really love like 90% practice, and some people love 90% teaching. And so I'm just wondering about how that goes.
Well, I'm happy to answer that. I'm curious, which kind of people are you?
I'm more with the teaching than the practicing, because sometimes I can't think of things to talk about in practice.
Right.
You know,
your learning style, you benefit a lot from the presentation and listening and taking it in, processing it.
Yeah.
And sometimes people will say, well, what's going on for you? And you'll be like, I'm not sure. I can't think of anything. Got it. Short answer, there will be a variety of styles of teaching. First of all, because we have 4 different trainers, and each of the 4 trainers have their own style. But even within each trainer, I'll speak for myself, I use different styles in different sessions. And honestly, I try to incorporate multiple learning styles within a single session. Sure. So I'm very attuned and very sensitive to the fact that people have different learning styles. Some people learn visually, so I try to have handouts and diagrams, things on the floor. Some people learn auditorily. Some people learn through practice. Some people learn through thinking. So I try very hard to touch all the bases. And it's also something you can request, Connie. We're inviting partnership with you and with everybody here to let us know what works, so that we can design sessions that fit you, or at least let you know the sessions that might suit you the best. So I'm hopeful between all that you can get what you're looking for.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. All right. Any last questions? Last call. Okay. I got a couple here. Yunju, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
Okay, great. My name is Unju. I am in suburb of Chicago, and I have no exposure to nonviolent communication so far. I am very intrigued by how you explain what nonviolent communication process is, and I am very interested how this will fit to my practice, which I'm a tension and trauma release exercise provider. And it's a simple physical exercises, but when they start releasing tensions and traumas from their body, all those stories comes out.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I signed up for it. I need to be able to compassionately, listening and how to facilitate, private sessions and the group sessions. But the terms that you have been describing, what we will be experiencing throughout this 9 days, it sounds like it's very similar to what we experience of a people releasing traumas and trying to learn how to relive with their new organism or new body or new mind. So I'm very fascinated. I'm a little worried. Like there are all these veterans who has been practicing it for a long time, and I know nothing about it. So I'm a little bit kind of a little worried, but at the same time, I am fascinated how this will actually enhance my skill and how we will be connecting with each other. So I just wanted to introduce myself and just want to let you know that I feel like that I have gotten into something much deeper than what I anticipated.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Unju. I'm super excited to hear what you shared. I mean, as I heard you talk, I'm like, yeah. Especially, I resonated with, the work that you do, the emotional or energy release work, whatever it is. I mean, some of that may occur for people in this event. So the technology of nonviolent communication gives people the skills to transform that energy, to release it, to transform it into something that's really life-serving. And a lot of our processes are designed to do that, to hold that for people. So I'm really hopeful that this will benefit you in your work. And the other thing I'd like to ask you is, would you consider offering this as an evening session to share what you do and see if other people might be interested?
Absolutely. I think it would be a fascinating process together. And I'm stumbled because I'm so excited that you actually mentioned that I think it will be really, really interesting. Yes.
Excellent. I'm very eager to see that. So thank you. Okay, let's take the last question. Will be Mary Martin before we end. Go ahead, Mary Martin.
I was counting up, and here in video, there's 17 women and 2 men, 2 brothers. So I was wondering, in terms of the whole list, will there be more of a gender balance, or is that relevant?
Oh, well, it might be relevant. I can say that I don't know the exact numbers, but we do have more women than men signed up, people who identified themselves by gender. And that's typical of these events, actually. I don't know exactly why. I have my theories on why that is. But for whatever reason, there are more women that are attracted to this work by and large than there are men, most of the time. I'd say it's about a 70-30 split. But I'm curious at your question. I'm guessing that you would really love to have more of your brothers present because you really want to be present with all genders and have more of a balance, and it makes it more rich for you. Is that right?
Yes, every person counts, but that is the consideration that has a value for me. Thank you.
Great. Well, we do have about 10 spaces left. Would you be willing to go out and recruit 10 men so that we can fill up the rest of the program? And then you can meet your own needs in the process.
It's more the feminine masculine, globally and creation-wise, the feminine and masculine balance that has been so out of whack.
Yes, well, I'm with you on that. It's been a long journey for me to reclaim my sacred masculine as opposed to the habitual masculine that I learned growing up. So I very much, I embrace men in this work, and I embrace the masculine in this work, which lives in you and all women, all people. So my intention is, regardless of what our gender ratio is to really bring both feminine energy and masculine energy and the beauty of both in the work that I do and the way that I hold things. And I would encourage you to do the same.
one thing that excites me about NVC is language, the words we choose. Language is so vital. So
yeah, it's a beautiful language. You get 9 days of practicing it, so glad to have you. Okay. All right, so we are at the end of our agreed upon time. I want to just say briefly, I honor all of you. I thank all of you for coming to this call. I honor all of you for moving into this program. And I am heartily, passionately committed to doing everything I can to make this a meaningful experience for you. And I trust that we've started that here. I'm just really happy that you joined this call. It's really great. So, Jennifer, anything you want to say by means of closing?
Just that I'm tickled to see so many of your faces. I'm really looking forward to meeting you all in person. I can't wait. We're 4 weeks out and I'm counting down the days.
Okay. So I'm going to unmute all the lines. All of our lines are live. So if you'd like to say goodbye or anything to the group, please do it now. Thank you all.
Fred.
Hi, thank you, everyone.
Bye. Hi, Linda.
Oh, good to see you.
Look
Jennifer.
forward to meeting everybody.
All
Hi,
right.
Jennifer.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Nice to
Jennifer,
meet you,
I'll be in
everybody.
medicine next week, all
See you,
week.
Paul.
I'm
Yeah.
going to text you my number.